Hey folks, how's it going? I hope you guys are all doing really good today and having a great day. Today I'd like to share some wiring tips and an actual diagram, a schematic, what have you, for this in particular setup I'm doing on this guitar. And what we're talking about here is two humbuckers. We're going to coil split those, not coil tap them, coil split them. There is a difference. We'll explain that in a minute. So we've got two humbuckers, two volumes, one for each pickup, and these are hooked up to push-pull knobs so we can split the pickup. Then we have a master tone here and a three-way toggle instead of a five-way blade. And I'll explain why I prefer this better and having the two push-pulls. Okay, guys, so without further ado, we're going to get right in there and get our hands dirty, and I'll show you the whole wiring layout for it. Okay, here we go. Okay, folks, so before we get started here, what I'm going to do is show you what is actually happening with this wiring. So I've got a small guitar cord plugged into the guitar, and I've got these alligator clips which are just hooked to the leads on this multimeter. The multimeter is set on ohms, okay, on a very low setting. So, and it doesn't matter which one is hooked to which. You got to have one around the sleeve and one around the tip. That's all you need to test your resistance in your pickups with it, the pickups are still in the guitar. Okay, so let's get going here. We just snapped it on. I'm going to make sure all my volumes are up and my tones up. Now we're in the middle position. Let's flip it that way, and that brings us to the neck position. You can see that it's about 8.8485 ohms of resistance. So that's in humbucker mode. And when we pull up on the knob, it should split it in half to a single coil, which is about close to 4.5 ohms of resistance. Push it back down, and we have the humbucker again. Okay, so let's go to the middle position, which is both humbuckers on, which is less resistance. Okay, now we still have the option to push-pull either one of these in the middle position, okay? That's going to be quite useful. So we can run a humbucker and a single, or a humbucker and a single, and we still have the three-way switch to mess with. So back here on the bridge position, that's a pretty warm humbucker, putting some good output out and some good resistance. So if we pull this one up, that splits that one in half. And that's going to be a pretty hot single coil right there. So very good. And like I said again, we have a master tone down here. So I just wanted to at least describe what's going on to you so we're not getting confused when we're looking at the diagram and that kind of thing, okay? All right, here we go. Let's get right into it. Okay, so first off, you're going to need a pickup that has 4 wires in it, okay? If it doesn't have, there's actually 5 if you count the bare wire. Okay, that's going to be ground always, more than likely. So anyway, you have a red, a black, a bare, and you have green and white, which may be a little tricky to see. There you go. Okay, so if you don't have a 4-wire pickup, you can't do this mod. Okay, so now the first thing that we need to do is you have to find out who manufactured the pickup and what their color codes are and how they, wound the pickup. Because sometimes they're different. Not sometimes, most of the time they can be different. There's a few that use the same color codes, but not always. So you can get online usually and find this information, and these were Bill Lawrence pickups that I was using. So the red wire is your north start, okay? The white wire is north finish, the green is south finish, and the black is south start, and you usually tie that to a ground. So if you look at Seymour Duncan's, the black is the north start, which down here on the Bill Lawrence, if I can find him again, the black is the south start, okay? So those are different. So I've written a few of these down, just some of the ones that I usually run into, and I don't have to, fire up the computer to find them. These work well, and they seem to be all right. So that's the first thing. You got to find out what wires are what, because that's going to be important when we start forming the wiring on this, okay? So let's get back to the diagram. All right. So once you've determined, I'm going to take you out of the stand here. Once you've determined what your wires are, okay, this is what we're going to be looking at. So you have all these wires that come out of your pickup, right? And you have north start, north finish, south start, okay? And like I said, the wire colors can be different from pickup manufacturer to pickup manufacturer, all right? So the next thing we're going to be looking at is a push-pull switch, all right? So I have it drawn out here roughly on this piece of paper. And as you can see, there's 3 sets of terminals here for soldering, all right? And you have the 3 terminals here, which you'd have on a regular potentiometer. This is nothing more than a regular potentiometer with a switch hanging on the bottom of it. And when you pull the knob up and down, it runs the switch. Okay? So if you want to do this mod, you find out what color codes your pickups are, and this is how you want to wire it. So in my case, the north finish and south finish were tied together, which ended up being green and white, okay? So, and it's the same on this pickup. So then once those are tied together, I run a wire from them. I didn't actually run a wire, I actually stabbed this green and white wire, into the middle terminal, okay? So that goes right to the middle terminal, as you can see. And then we had the north start, okay? And that jumps over that one and goes into the bottom terminal, all right? Okay, so once you get that hooked into the bottom terminal, you have to take another piece of wire and jump into this, which is, let me orientate the switch the right way so we all are on the same page. Actually, it would be like this. We're looking at it upside down, okay? And usually when you see diagrams, you're looking at the actual pot upside down, okay? That'll save you some confusion, hopefully. So you're going to jump from this third lug down to this, okay? To this terminal down here. And then this one goes to ground, okay? And that's what this little symbol is for. That's ground. Now the middle terminal goes to the 3-way switch. And on the 3-way switch, you have 3 soldering points, and you'll have another one over here for a ground, okay? Again, we're using that symbol as ground. Okay, so as you can see, the middle terminal here, right in this middle one, is hooked to the switch here. And then the middle of this one is hooked to the other side of the switch, okay? Then the actual center terminal coming off the switch goes right down here to the tone control in the middle, and then we've jumped that down to the jack, to the tip. And what we have on this side is just a capacitor in between this terminal. That's the symbol for capacitor. And it's just grounded. One leg goes in this terminal and the other one gets grounded to the back of the pot. And you want to run grounds to each pot. I always do that. It's good practice. So then down on the jack, you're just going to ground the sleeve to ground, okay? Now, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And I wired this one the same as this one. They're wired identical. So you got to, say this is the neck and the bridge. We have them both wired exactly the same, and everything's grounded, between each other, and it works just fine like that. Now, I've tried a few other diagrams where this wiring would be different than this, and that's usually the coil tap stuff from what I've gathered. I haven't actually wired up any coil taps, so you don't usually see those pickups in most guitars. They usually just, set up so you can split the coils. So basically, like I said, these are the same exact thing. I wired them the same, and again, you just put a capacitor in here off this lug on the tone control, and you have one wire that goes to each potentiometer in the center coming from the switch, and you ground that lug and you ground that lug. And just make sure you jump a wire in between these. If you forget to put this little jumper wire in, they'll still work, but you won't be able to split them, okay? You have to have that jumper in before it will split the pickup in half. That's just what I've run into along the way. So, again, if you want to use 2 humbuckers, okay, and 2 push-pull volumes, and a master tone, and a 3-way switch, that's the diagram. And that's for coil split, okay? This isn't for coil tapping. This is for coil splitting. So the best thing to do once you might as well just wire one up. Once you get one wired up, hook your multimeter up, and you can actually check it and see if it's splitting, which it should. But like I said, the most important thing is this. You got to find out who made your pickup and what their color codes are, because they can be different, okay? And there is info online about it. You got to just kind of trust it, I guess, which is sketchy sometimes. They're not always accurate. I've run into it myself several times, and that is the exact reason why I'm sharing this with you guys right now, so you don't have to flounder and deal with things like this. It's really aggravating to get a diagram that is not correct, okay? And again, I'm using 500K pots on this. If you're using humbuckers, that's probably what you ought to be using anyway. So, rule of thumb, it's usually 500 for a humbucker and 250 for a single, 250 or 300 for a P90. They used to use 300s at Fender, I guess, at one point on their P90s. But if you have some OBLs, here's the color codes for them. Like I said, pretty simple. Well, that's not giving you the color codes, but I did give that to you. Let me flip back to this page 1 second, because I want you guys to have this. These actually work, so if you want to check these out, write them down. That's what I did, because I'm afraid if I get a website or something or find a page that has these and they are correct, all of a sudden the page goes down and you can't find it. So these are all correct to my knowledge. I haven't had any reason to believe otherwise so far. So excuse my handwriting, it's not great, but it is what it is. There's the fender ones, and you'll see they're all a little different, or they can be. There's a few that are typical, but not all of them. So in any case, guys, I really hope that helps you out. And, just to debunk the whole thing about push-pull pots, it's basically a potentiometer, like I said, with a switch hanging from the bottom of it. When it's up, like it is right now, you're engaging the two. Let me get my golf club here. When it's in the up position, these two poles on the top are engaged and the ones in the middle. When you push the switch back down, then the middle poles are engaged and the bottom ones. So hopefully that clears up any questions you may have about that. And don't be scared. They're not that difficult. Another thing is when you're doing your grounding, it's nice. You got a little tab here. That's what I use to do all my grounding from pot to pot and that kind of thing. Works out quite well. Always remember when you're soldering pots in, turn them all the way down or all the way up. All the way down is probably best. That way you don't burn the wiper out inside the pot. It happens. If you leave it halfway and you get it too hot, then you try to run it and you'll feel this big dead spot right in the middle. It'll be like, like a bump in the road, so to speak. So anyway, folks, I won't hold you up any longer. I'm going to put my guitar back together here. I think I'm all set to go. I just got to tighten down the pots and stick the knobs back on, put it back together, and get her all straightened back out, and we'll do a sound test on it later today. Well, anyway, I hope this info helps, guys. It's a little confusing at first, honestly. Like I said, just getting on the internet, and wow, there's a lot of diagrams, and which ones do I trust? That's the first question that'll probably pop into your mind. So again, that diagram I just showed you works. It's foolproof and it works great. So the only other thing, you can isolate the coils too. You can isolate the slug coil or the screw coil. Okay, so this has adjustable screws on this coil, and this one here is just a slug. So you can, discern that pretty easy too. Just a multimeter and a screwdriver, basically, and tap on them. Or you could do it, audibly too, I suppose, in the guitar, and just jump the wires across with alligators and tap on your pickups and see which one's what. Well, in any case, guys, I hope this info helps. I know I was getting really frustrated, like I said, just trying to find a simple diagram, and in my opinion, 2 push-pulls and a master tone with a 3-way switch. I don't know. It just seemed like it was hard to find the info. I found a lot, like I said, on coil tapping and not coil splitting. So there you go, folks. I hope that really helps. And this is a great mod. I can't wait to plug this thing in and see what's going on. So stay tuned for that. We'll do a sound test on it later today. And we'll see you guys real soon. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't. I really would appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in a while. Okie doke.